and gals of gun.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 p.m. Pacific for about an hour or 90 minutes each day. We do 3 gun-related topics each day, different topics throughout the week. We run it live on YouTube, and we simulcast it over at gunchannels.com. Gun Channels is a place we built a while back. Community focused on firearms. So we're watching the live chat that people are participating in over there. Also over on YouTube. When we're all done, we'll take the audio from that and we'll turn it into a podcast on iTunes. So we're encouraging everybody who might listen to the show now or in the future to leave us some feedback on whatever platform it is you listen to us on, so that we know where you are, where our listeners are. And it also those interactions, leaving likes or comments or subscribing to our channels, those kind of things help our shows get recommended to more listeners. And we really do appreciate that favor. We have a bunch of hosts. 3 of us are here today. We got Dano jumping in from Illinois. Thanks for joining.
Yep, glad to be here.
And we got Z jumping in from the county of Maui. Thanks for joining.
Well, aloha.
And then I'm in Arizona. We got some other hosts. I don't know where they're at, so I guess we'll just wing it. So today is episode 255. It's Friday. So we'll be doing alternative gun topics. We'll be doing the gun business and our weekly wrap-up. But before we get into all our daily stuff, we like to take a break at the beginning, see if anything happened overnight, anything worth talking about.
Well, I know there's a couple of chats yesterday. There's a pretty interesting AK-47 guru chat. There was also Yankee, which I only caught part of one and part of the other. Didn't seem like it got too crazy on Yankees, and I think there was a lot of good information disseminated on the AK chat.
Oh, we're definitely having fun on the AK one. I don't want to say it's a lot of information, but a lot of something. We had a 4-hour chat last night. It was pretty fun. I didn't see Tech Daddy's chat, and I guess I was in Yankees chat, but yeah, it didn't get as crazy as Matt's the other night, which is probably good.
I would. Oh, you go, Dano.
I was just going to say, I just caught the tail end to the last, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes or so of the AK chat, but I was listening before I actually jumped in. But just after the 3rd time my name was mentioned, I figured, okay, I better jump in there just to defend myself.
Well, it was a trap, Dano. So I mean, I'm glad to see that you. I'm glad to see that you enjoy walking right into the ambush like that.
And yes, I did, because I heard the phrase, just do a Dano.
Yeah,
and now it's starting to do a thing.
Wait, can you spend a lot of time and effort explaining something to me? Because I'm about to do something totally different, but thanks for that.
Yeah, I'm going to totally disregard whatever time you have just spent with me, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway.
I've got a lot of specific questions about a specific thing, but I'm planning on doing something else completely different, but I appreciate it. Thanks.
Good looking out. Now, I will say, as far as Second Amendment stuff goes, unfortunately, yesterday in the state capitol, I guess that's what they would call it, over on Oahu in Honolulu, they voted in committee to send it to the floor, and it's the one where any one person calling can get your gear, firearms, and ammo taken from you. It's like kind of like the one that they got in California, or was going to go through in California, where if somebody calls to say that you're a endangerment to yourself or to anybody else or what have you, that without any due process, without any investigation, so to speak, or a chance to explain yourself or any of that kind of stuff, they can technically come and take your stuff. And now I believe they're going to use the guise of, well, we're only taking your stuff until you either define or explain or whatever the individual case may be. So it totally
messed up.
Sucks. There we go.
Now, I do have a
So, but
question.
now here's the deal. It goes to the floor now to be voted on, right? It's not scheduled to be voted on yet, which is good. The bad part is state of Hawaii don't have a whole lot of pro-gun people, especially in the senator or in the House of Representatives. And this one, for the committee, they usually allow oral testimony, to say how people feel and whatnot. This particular time, they did not allow any oral testimony at all whatsoever. They only accepted written testimony.
Now, does your state also have the third option, which my state does, as far as we have oral, we have written, and we have what's called by record of appearance, which means electronic?
I don't know if we have the third or not, but I do know that they specifically only, like I even saw, it mentioned a few times in some of the stuff, whether it was the NRA, the HRA, depending on who was sending out the notices and stuff like that, that it said specifically only written this time, which is baloney.
So is either your state gun rights organization and or gun shops trying to promote calling your state congressmen, senators, etc.?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Since it is now going to go to the floor to be voted on at some point, yes, they definitely have. And I mean, on the same tip, though, the hunting / suppressor law that Hawaii may be passing, I guess I should put it like that, that also passed committee, and that will also get a chance to be voted on the floor at some point as well. And again, that also is not scheduled to be voted on yet. So it's basically crazy that we got one super good chance, and then we got some stuff that is just beyond crazy, violates your rights, and I don't understand how they can't think that it's unconstitutional. So I don't know. Just wanted to give an update. That was yesterday. Thursday was the one and done. So, yeehaw, weekend. Ori, I believe you could call, and yes, anyone's ex-wife, girlfriend, technically somebody that had a bone to pick with you, the cabbage salesman down the street at the farmer's market, technically, if they wanted to and they knew enough information about you, yes, they could totally ruin your day / life. Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that's a ripoff because that cabbage guy has it out for me.
See what I'm saying, dude? That's exactly my point, is that if they're not going to do any due process of whether it's investigation and or a court appearance for you to be able to, defend yourself, so to speak, that literally it's we come, we take, and then we figure it out, and then we decide after the fact if you get your stuff back. Maybe.
Yeah.
And I don't like that at all.
And then probably beat up and scratched and banged.
Wonder how many ways that'll be abused.
Well, and that's exactly the point. That's why that should not pass. I mean, again, vindictive ex-girlfriend, school bully, coworker that don't like the cut of your jib. I mean, like, I could make a bazillion scenarios where this happens, and
now, does the person who calls
most of them seem ridiculous? Like, there's no way that this would happen. Of course,
the person who calls have to identify themselves and prove
that I'm unsure of. I didn't get all the way into the text of the bill or anything like that, which I'm going to be doing so here over the next amount of time to get a better handle on it. Because guess what? If the person doesn't have to necessarily identify themselves, then that's even worse.
Or prove a relationship, because anybody can anonymously harass someone then, using the law enforcement as their.
And honestly, dude, I don't think that it was a family, like family or friend necessary, like requirement. Even though that's what they were trying to say. It's almost like they were trying to say, if you're a friend or a family member and you know somebody that, not necessarily mentally unstable, but you think that they're going to hurt somebody or hurt themselves, then call. So they're trying to the not one more theory, and it just violates so many rights. I just don't understand how this can happen. I mean, I shouldn't be so naive to say that I can't believe that it can't happen. I can totally believe that it can happen. I mean, that's the reality. It totally can happen. It amazes me. That's all. Sorry to bring it in like that, but that was something that happened overnight that was relatively important.
Ripe for abuse.
Well, on the other side of it, Connecticut has constitutional. Oh wait, New Hampshire.
No, New Hampshire. Hello. Yeah. And our friend on the ground over there at Ground Zero, you see he's been posting a little bit more lately? The Tactical Six String?
No, on the YouTube side?
I swear he was in the external, and I see him on some of the other places that he goes a little bit more in the past couple of days.
Right on.
Which is good.
Good.
Yeah.
So there's signs of life.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, he's real. I've never doubted that Tactical Six String is real.
No, I don't mean real. I mean that he's still up and kicking.
Oh yeah.
It turns out that cabbage guy is also screwing around with Mr. Knives. So yeah, that guy's really causing trouble for a lot of people.
See, and the other guy says cabbage salesmen are hardcore. I mean, yeah, you get it. It's not my fault I have a head for a cabbage for a head. See, the kids aren't. They're not going to get that one.
I think we should get into the alternative gun topic for the week: traveling with firearms. What are we always doing? Traveling with firearms. Traveling with firearms. What effect? The jerk from Alaska. Oh, okay. Remember that guy went from Alaska down to Florida.
And caused massive chaos.
For a minute there,
that guy?
We were concerned that it might have some kind of long-term consequences, and that all happened like way before the election was final, right? So we didn't know, potentially who might be president, as when we put this in the schedule, I think. So anyway, I guess that's why we're talking about it. So has there been any ramifications of that guy or any consequences of that guy doing his thing as far as
there has been outcry, of course, clearly, right? I don't know that anybody has put any anti-gun legislation because of this specific incident, but I swear there was a couple of crackpots in there that were trying to, like we've been doing some good stuff and promoting good stuff like the Hearing Protection Act and stuff like that. There's been a couple of them out there that have been still trying to throw some crazy anti-stuff at the wall, and it hasn't stuck yet. But as far as the lasting repercussions, I have not seen any hindrances as of yet, or law changes, or even enforcement changes, that's almost all they would have to do. Like, what if the insurance companies decided to change the rules for the airlines? And then all of a sudden, technically an airline as a private entity does not have to allow you to travel with your firearm. They do not have to do that. It's company policy dictates it one way or the other. So if insurance companies decided to jack rates enough, because of, we're just trying to stop the chaos. So this is one way that we can do this. There wouldn't be any legislation necessary. Because they're privately owned companies, they could technically do that, and it wouldn't be like out of their realm of things that they could do legally.
That's something that's always bothered me, is the indirect power of insurance companies to almost form, in the final analysis, that is, what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Well, see, and they get around it though, Dan, by they're not technically telling you can't do it. They're just going to tell you that if you are going to do it, they're just going to crush you with such a level of increased payment that it wouldn't be a fiscally sound idea to engage in that activity.
Right. But as an example, there are some businesses, at least in my area, that if you want to allow carry or not allow carry, depending on your insurance company, that may have two different rates. Now, and that's what I mean by as far as encourage the business to do one thing or to not do something, through the power of their own pen and charging. And if insurance companies align themselves to a certain side of the issue, they have tremendous power and taking a business owner that could go either way into saying, well, of course I want to pay less, so we'll put up a little sticker and be done with it.
So has anybody else heard of any things that have changed or been announced that they're going to affect change on this one?
I have not.
Because I had not heard anything yet.
No, I figured it would have had more consequence, but I don't know if that's a factor of people not worrying about it or just people aren't.
Well, also it will be I was going to say the minority, but it'll be the less amount of people because the majority is supposedly pro 2A right now, whether we're talking House, Senate, or even, of course, the presidency. So there's a possibility that the ones that are talking about it and raising Cain just don't have enough numbers to really, they just don't have loud enough voice yet to be a distraction. I mean, I'm sure I guarantee somebody's thinking about it. G. I don't have any illusions about that at all.
Well, that's true.
Because they've been thriving on emotion for the past 8 to 10 years. So why would they stop now?
Well, thriving on emotion, they've been doing that for as long as I've been aware. I remember back in the 70s using politicians using emotion to justify their positions.
No, actually, I will actually agree with Artisan Tony out on the YouTube side. He said, sadly, the majority is not pro 2A. I would have to agree with him on that the majority of the majority might not be pro 2A. They just might not necessarily be anti. Right. So there's some of those middle of the road that, I just need to get reelected.
Are we talking about politicians or just people?
I was talking about politicians. I think he was referring to politicians as well.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm saying is, like, since there's a minority of, state senators or congressmen that are anti right now because we have the majority, that's why they don't have either a loud enough voice or, he did mean people. My bad. Dang.
Well, then I disagree. The majority is not adamantly 2A, but I think if you just took if there was some way to take a poll of the whole country, most people are pro 2A. It just definition of 2A is going to be a little bit different for everybody. But I think that's one of the core things that makes our country unique, and the fact that we are able to win what we're able to win, and it's so hard for them to just take the stuff that they've taken, is an indication that those people in the middle have to be swayed. They have to be lied to or somehow duped to think that anti-2A stuff is appropriate, but it's not a given. If it was seriously everybody was anti-2A, they would have a constitutional amendment, and we wouldn't have a Second Amendment anymore.
And then, once we divide, let's say, people who are undecided, people who are anti, people who are for, then we kind of need to divide it one more time, which is by people who are actually willing to step forward and raise their hand, regardless of which side they are in the issue, because those are the only people that actually count. Because those are the people that will email. Those are the people that will vote. Those are the people that will show up at a protest. Those are the people that are
counted. I don't know if they necessarily the only ones that count. I know that they are the ones that will be counted, though, because that's why they raise their hand.
Whether it's emails, phone calls, snail mail, go to your senator's office, show up at a protest. Those are the people for or against that the politicians see, that traditional media sees. So, that's the other, for me, it's the other obvious qualifier as to that. That's the other difference, that, it's not just having an opinion whether you're for or against, and are you willing to step forth and make your position known, yay or nay? Because a lot of people have strong opinions one way or the other, but they won't get off the couch.
Yeah, if your opinion is to yourself, then I guess you're out of it. You take yourself out.
All right, but let's bring it back to the topic at hand. What do we think the effect from that jerk will be?
Honestly, I think one of the effects that we can look at silver lining is that something as bad as that can happen, and it can happen on a national scale, and it could happen pretty quickly compared to other things. Is follow up to the other thing that happened in Florida by some asshole who decided to use a gun about it or to do it, and then the fact that it's gone away. So either that means there's enough other distraction out there, or it's just not that big a deal for people, or they're not as easily duped as the agenda-driven media would like to suggest or like to have, be the case. So I think that we can look at the silver lining there, that because there hasn't been a bunch of anti-backlash, at least it's telling us that, that's the situation. We're not we're not in behind enemy lines. It's not like there's a majority of people just waiting to remove the Second Amendment and looking for any opportunity. They tried, and it kind of came and went, just like any other.
I will agree with it. It's not a majority that wants to do that, but I guarantee there is an amount of people that are literally chomping at the bit for any type of thing that they can point a finger at and say, see?
Sure, but they did that. They did that.
They will continue to do that, though. That's my point, though, is they will continue to do that.
I'm saying that we can't, just because they're there to do it doesn't mean they win. They're there and they did that. I agree. Nothing happened, so we have to acknowledge that. Just because if we're only going to acknowledge that they're there complaining, well, they're always going to be there complaining. So we're never going to actually recognize a change in system. So if we can recognize that something like this happened and guns were, pointed at to blame, like I say, it had no weight, it didn't stick.
Well, no, and either fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, I will say that the majority of the news reports, when this came out, most of the ones that I read or even heard, they were begrudgingly allowing the fact to come out that this person transported them legally. Like, they hated to have to mention that it is allowable in the United States to travel with your firearm. And I swear, whether they made light of it, they made fun of it, or they were, aghast that it's a thing, because they just are silly. So I did notice that in some of the reporting. I shouldn't say a lot of the reporting. I should say some of the reporting. They couldn't. It's almost like they couldn't believe that they had to say that. Oh no, he actually did that legally. So in my mind, since he did do that part legally, is that what they're going to go after? The actual travel? Are they going to pursue insurance companies to do the roundabout way? Is there going to be then a supercharge added to traveling with a firearm? Because as of right now, anytime that I've traveled with one on an airline, it's pretty much just a regular checked baggage fee. So we'll see. Because they could also make it cost prohibitive. Like your regular bag is $35, but that's a firearm? Yeah, that's $150. I'm sorry.
And that's another thing. They didn't change the rules. It wasn't like, a revelation, you can travel with firearms. Let's stop this. This needs to be.
And that's what I was afraid of. I mean, to be 100% honest with you, because I'm a guy that I live on an island in the middle of the Pacific. I'm not taking a boat and I'm not driving. I'm flying, right? So I'm flying for all of my travel. So anytime that I do fly, and I usually like to, bring firearms where I'm going, because usually where I go, it's more readily available to have range time than it is here. So, like, to me, I've been trying to keep an eye on that one, because it will directly affect me if it changes. I mean, it'll affect us all, of course. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to separate that way. I'm just saying specifically it'll throw a monkey wrench into too much stuff.
Well, I don't know if anybody else is, on the YouTube side, really thrown in on that particular one. And on the gun channel side, it looks like Florida, last I heard, going to get rid of gun-free zones in the House and Senate under the House bill, or the Senate bill, but not sure how far it got. I don't know if that was in direct consequence of that particular thing, but that particular instance may have had influence on someone who was about to vote no or yes, right? Depending on how they read
To
it.
vote, probably, I'd almost say yes.
Well, if they're talking about getting rid of gun-free
Yeah.
zones, something like that happens in a gun-free zone, yeah, I would think that you've got, it's almost like a wild card. You've got as much possibility of somebody being misled to say that it's the gun-free zones aren't enough, and then other people who are more logical about it are going to realize that they aren't magical and they're, that they don't need to be there. So I would think that it might help, but I don't know if we can assume that, just because something like that happens, that it,
Yeah, I think that that thing in Florida, I mean, sometimes Florida has some silly stuff, and then like the rest of the majority of the time they have really good stuff as far as guns go. But they got a couple of those things that'll trip you up if you ain't paying attention to. But so I hope that goes through the ending portion anyway. But dude, I'm sure we're gonna come back to this at some point.
perhaps. I'm not going to put it in the schedule unless you guys want to, because
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it actually becomes something, we'll come back to it.
yeah, because otherwise I don't want to keep digging up old rubbish, and it's not a good thing. We definitely don't want to champion it or anything. But anyway, we'll definitely have alternative gun topics every Friday. So if you've got an idea for the show or for any of the topics throughout the week, you can always email them to us at dailygunshow@gmail.com. Or on the second Saturday of the month, we get together with our Patreon supporters and schedule out the show for the month, the coming month. And you're always welcome to either participate in that show or join in as a Patreon supporter. So I guess with that, we'll dig into the gun business. Every Friday, we like to keep the gun business going by giving them all a bunch of tips and ideas to keep profitable for the week. But before we do that, we like to feature a member over at Gun Channels each day, between the first and second segments. And today we're featuring Edge. So Edge, one of the members of the Gun Website shooting team, is an integral member of our group, Gun Websites group, which I guess is the people that built Gun Channels. So Edge, I forget what member he is, but he's right there at the beginning. He was active participant in the YouTube chats, which were kind of the preliminary to the creation of Gun Channels. When we built Gun Channels, we wanted to build a platform so people who are creating content could get together and network and work together, share resources, share audience. And Edge has been, maybe not every single week, but he's been consistently putting out a show on Fridays pretty much since the beginning of Gun Channels. And before, we always give Matt credit for hosting shows on the regular, but Edge is probably right there behind him, even more regular than Yankee, I think, right?
Yep, he's definitely number two.
So here's a good show. It's usually interesting,
like it.
but it kind of goes up and down as far as his ability to spend time on it. Being a parent, full-time job and everything, he has time to spend on it sometimes and less time others. But when he has time to kick into it, he brings on guests from the local gun shops and friends like Murphy and other people who know what they're talking about. So instead of just being like a kind of a structured open lobby chat, he sometimes has interesting people on that'll really educate, right?
You educate? Did you do that on purpose? Because you can have the whole week, but you're only gonna need the edge of the week.
And the end of the week is typically always Friday, so I think it is like falling off the edge of the week. But yeah, he's been holding down Friday for years. And when you think of the longevity, there's not that many people that can, consistently do something over a period of years and keep going at it. I mean, he's not the only person, but it's not a very large group. So hats off to him as far as,
thanks, Edge. I second that emotion. Definitely thanks for all the hard work that you do put in, bro.
All right, I'm eating a tomato.
Well, you do that. You eat a tomato, and we're going to go on to the gun business. Worst things you can do in a gun store.
Where to start?
Oh, my goodness.
So besides the obvious stupid stuff that can get you kicked out or whatever out of any
Or
store,
killed.
well, the things that can,
I think we need to name those because we're talking worst things. We got to talk about literally drawing your pistol or flagging or.
No, I don't think so, because you wouldn't draw your pistol at Walmart either, and you're not going to draw your pistol at a Chinese food restaurant. So we're not
Well,
going
it didn't say common sense things you do in a gun store. It says worst things you can do in a gun store.
Well, I think I put this in here, at least when I've been looking at it, I've been thinking more like being a sucker, like showing that you're an idiot, or walking in there and being a dick.
What about the cop that pulled his gun in there and shot himself, or had negligent discharge or whatever? So I'm just saying. Anyway, I should allow you to continue on your point. My apologies, sir.
Well, instead of just doing the obvious, don't yank a gun out and point it at a guy. That's fairly obvious. I was going to say, why don't we get into some of the more subtle stuff that might actually, save you a couple of bucks or get you in with the place. That's where I guess I was going with it. So, like I was saying, the going in there and being like a know-it-all. I mean, you're immediately who you're trying to impress there. They're there to help you, not just be your servants or something where they're paid listeners or something. So I've never understood the people that come in to educate the people at the shop, and there's a good portion of those people. Maybe they're like that everywhere. Maybe they go into the car dealership to tell them about how their cars are made, or they go into the hardware.
Nice. We got some stuff coming in, both on the YouTube and on the gun channel side. We got draw a loaded gun to show someone, and then on the other side it does say pull out a loading firearm, which is something that you and I had just discussed as one of the obvious don't do that. Chris is out there with the argue over prices. You don't want to do that. And then, like you're saying, the know-it-all. And then, of course, you don't want to insult other customers. And I'm trying to see. So that's what we got so far for worst things you can do in a gun store. And I would be inclined to agree with all of those. I mean, oh, nice. Yeah, car carrier. Always ask permission to dry fire.
Yep.
Also, yeah. And it sounds silly, but if you've opened a cylinder on a revolver, don't do the single hand flip close. Don't do that. I mean, that's not necessarily the worst thing you can do in a gun store, but it shows that you don't really know what's going on when you do that. When you slam the cylinder shut by swinging it, like, don't do that.
Well, yeah, you're gonna pay for a gun potentially. I mean, you're gonna at least get banned from the shop. Some shops will freak out when you just damage a gun like that. Like if you potentially damage a gun.
Nice, I love this. Now, I don't know that anybody in here has done this, so I'm just saying what was typed. So this is not any aspersion on anybody, but ask to see every firearm and not purchase any. Now, on a little teeny bit of a level, I can say I've definitely gone into gun stores, looked at guns, and not purchased a gun. But at the same time, I didn't ask to see but one or two. So I hope that doesn't put me in that category, because I can definitely see what I think Cave Dave's is coming at is you've now just taken up the time of the sales of the associate for however long. You've asked to see however many. Now, granted, did you do that just because you're going to go across the street to the big box store or order it online? And now you've wasted their time. So that, to me, that I'm going to agree that is a dick move.
Do you think it's obvious, especially to new people, that they should have their firearm either in some sort of case or wrapped in something when they come into the gun store?
It is required at the gun stores that I go into that it is locked in a locked case and unloaded. It is required.
That's not a thing that's consistent across the board at all. So no, it would be an unnecessary burden to assume that somebody would know a procedure that only certain stores are even going to require. I think there's usually an implied you're going to bring it in safe.
So in other words, you're saying you just bring a gun into the gun store then. It doesn't have to be in a soft case or anything is what you're saying.
But bringing in a rifle into a gun store and just carrying it in,
yeah,
my radar would immediately go up.
Well, I'm sorry about that. Maybe it's a difference in.
Maybe it's just the state that you live in, G, because I've been to several states where it says that on the door. And I know you have too. You've been to way more gun shops than I have. So I'm going to defer to your knowledge on this as a much larger base of experience. But I'm also going to say it's not just the state of Hawaii where I experienced this.
I mean, because we just
talked about that every shop has, I just said every shop is different, and I've been to plenty of shops, and very rarely do you see anything that says like, don't come in here without your gun being such and such. And that's what they would normally need to do because it's not a consistent requirement among shops. So, I mean, I haven't brought a gun into every single shop to test the theory or anything, but in my experience, dragging a shotgun into a shop, it doesn't need to be in a case. Sometimes it is, and nobody cares one way or the other. But if you bring in a gun, nobody gets. I mean, people might look at you, but they're not going to draw.
Well, that's why I specifically said long gun.
Huh?
That's why I specifically said long gun, because if you're carrying in a long gun, you're only half a step away from doing what we already mentioned, which is, browsing somebody, with the barrel. And the employees, unless you actually know them and they know you're coming in. Don't necessarily know who you are nor what your intentions are.
That's true. We don't have to agree on anything. You guys can definitely offer the advice to carry everything in a soft case, and that's not going to hurt anything ever. But I'm not going to go as far as to agree with that because I see people bringing guns constantly. No one gets concerned at all. And I think Chris said it. It's all about the way you carry it. So if you're going into a gun shop, you're not going into unfamiliar territory. You're not walking into a Walmart where people are not familiar with this. And if you're walking up and down the parking lot into a place where there's a gun shop, and unless they just open their doors, the gun shop that I always hang out at is next to a Taco Bell. Nobody in that Taco Bell is concerned about guns walking through the parking lot because they see that literally every day. So we don't have to agree on that. It's obviously you don't want to be unsafe or dumb about it, but
that's why.
But I think now, G, are you saying that it's not even a good idea, or that it's just not necessary?
I never said it wasn't a good idea.
No, that's what I was asking. I didn't say that you did. That's why I was asking you to clarify. That's all.
I'm going to definitely stop short of saying that go get yourself a soft case. So every time you go to the gun shop, you put it in a soft case. I mean, that's a lot of money to be spending.
Just like a police officer, if I'm getting pulled over, I want to make sure that gun store employee does not get a high pucker factor when I walk in because of the way I'm carrying a long gun.
And it's that we're all going to have different, levels of whatever, because I don't even think about my gun when I get pulled over. I'm usually swearing at myself for getting pulled over in the first place, and I can't even remember. There's only really been one instance where the cop ever even concerned about my gun. That was a state cop, and for getting a ticket for not having, I can't remember. I think it was when I smashed up my truck and I didn't have headlights or something, or I didn't have a windshield was smashed or something. And anyway, they pulled me over for something like that, and they got all concerned. But that was like one time out of, unfortunately, numerous being pulled over, and we all have different situations, I suppose. So that's why I guess when we're offering advice like this over the web, I just want to put the other side of that out there.
Well, it changes state to state, potentially county to county, potentially gun store to gun store. For example, though, also the reason that I mentioned the case deal is because it is required of you by law that anytime you transport a firearm in your vehicle, that it is in a gun case.
That could be a big issue if you have a requirement like that. We don't.
That's what I failed to mention that earlier. That's why I'm mentioning it now, because then also when you take it from the gun store and you have to take it to the police station to register the firearm like you do in the state of Hawaii, which sucks, it better be in a case. And now technically, if it is like a new firearm, they do allow for it to be in the box, so to speak, as acceptable. I will mention that when I bought my Arsenal and I brought it in, and as you know, like those Arsenal boxes, they're not the most, you're not buying a sturdy box when you buy an Arsenal, you're buying a sturdy AK. So I pretty much, like, the box was kind of fine almost when it came in and they did it. By the time that they handed it back to me after the registration and all that kind of stuff, they're like, that's kind of not acceptable, and we almost didn't register your firearm. It's like, oh, so just from that point on, I pretty much made sure that anytime that I transporting a firearm, it's like if I'm buying a new firearm, I will bring a case to the gun shop because I don't want to have that. But because technically, I'm not saying that she would, but if they would have called dispatch and they have my name, license number, and vehicle and all that kind of stuff, she could have said be on the lookout for this person if they were trying to trip me up on stuff, which I don't believe that they do that. I'm just saying, if you're following it that far down, that's something that it could have worked out bad for me. So that is why I always have a case.
Diecaster brings up an excellent one. Don't tell customers about great deals elsewhere.
Yes.
Customers probably don't want to. Well, I mean, they may or may not be interested at all anyway. But you can guarantee that any employees that overhear that, you've just lost any kind of appreciation, customer appreciation you might have there. And I mentioned the only they get out.
That is such bad form to go in somebody else's place of business and be trying to redirect people to go somewhere else.
Well, I see it all the time where not so much another store. I mean, occasionally another store, I guess, but more often like, oh, I saw that online for such and such at so-and-so's blah, blah, blah.com or whatever. And that kind of thing, you can see the teeth grinding on the employees on that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is another store, for all practical purposes. It's.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely not. Don't buy it here because you can get it cheaper someplace or something.
Yeah.
Or like, don't let them get a markup on that. Like, just.
Oh, and there's no denying that is a complete dick move. I mean, no denying that. Whether they're talking about the store across the street or, like I said, online. I mean, I had that kind of almost happen when I was at Austin Gun Liquidators, I think was the store I was in. And literally, out of the parking lot of that strip mall and literally across the street to the other strip mall, there was then a Sports Authority, which, as you know, is a big box store. And the dude came in and he was just price shopping, and they figured it out pretty quick because he got like disgruntled about prices or something after looking at like one or two things and then kind of huffed out the store. So it's just like, those people are jerks. I'm agree with you on that.
And I'll take that another step to say, be careful if you are trying to do it on the sly or, just trying to, you might be doing it as a favor to somebody, right? But you don't know if that person's like a good customer or something. They might walk in and tell them, what happened. So even if you try to do it on the sly, I'd say let your internet forums and stuff, your online communications with people be your way to share that kind of knowledge, because you never know if you're, whispering in the ear of like, the brother-in-law, the place that.
I was gonna say the brother-in-law, the cousin, the roommate, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see. So,
anything else on that?
There's some ideas in there.
Well, sometimes no, sometimes it's food or drink. Some shops don't allow for that and stuff like that. I mean, sometimes they don't allow for pets. There's lots of, don't let your dog crap on the floor and not do something about it,
Yeah, I've had definitely people come in with dogs. I never cared. The owner of the shops never cared that I was hanging out in or help behind the counter at. And I think it's always fun to see a dog come into a shop personally. But every once in a while, a dog.
No, I agree with that. But you don't want a dog fight, or if your dog makes a mess, you need to be the one cleaning it up. That's why I was saying that would be one of the worst things. Not necessarily the dog itself coming in.
I don't think it is the worst, because I'm just saying from my experience, when a shop is okay with the dog in there, then they understand what a dog is. It's like kids, if they're okay with kids being in the shop, then they probably don't mind getting out cleaning glass. I mean, it might not be their favorite thing to do, but they're aware of the consequences of it. So, I mean, obviously you're going to want to try to clean up real fast and everything, but I wouldn't hate yourself and never go to that store again, because again, if they have a dog policy, then that.
Oh yeah, I didn't mean that, G. I just meant if you ain't the one cleaning up your dog's doo-doo is what I meant.
Well, yeah, if you're that guy, if you're just, hey, look what happened here, you got somebody to clean this up, then yeah, I'm sure that's just being an arrogant jerk, and you're gonna not win any friendships there.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, there was another one, and you're rushing me, so I'm trying to find it.
I'm Russian. I'm a Russian. What do you mean I'm a Russian? I'm Irish.
Well, all right. We'll say then, anybody who, if we missed something, feel free to email us. We'll address this one again. I like hitting things about this kind of topic, how to have success at a gun show or a gun shop. I think it was when somebody had, where'd it go? When we type in the gun channels one, it scrolls up on me. Somebody was saying something though about impressing your girlfriend at the shop, and I guess I was going to add some insight to that. It happens a lot. Like, you would be surprised. Maybe you wouldn't, but it happens a lot. Dudes will come in with their chicks, and not always just shopping for their chick. Just she got dragged along. Maybe they feel obligated, depending on the day or whatever, to pay attention to her because she let you come into the gun shop or something. Other times though, it's almost like I don't know, maybe it's the guy's birthday or something, so she's like going with. But anyhow, whenever you go in there and you start explaining everything to her, I think it kind of backfires, because unless you really know what you're talking about, as soon as the gun shop guy corrects you or something, it's like, wasting your time. Like, she's not impressed anymore, because now you're just showing her that you don't know what you're talking about. So I'd be careful with that one. I would just I don't know. That one I've seen backfire on so many guys where they're in there saying all that, and not even intentionally, but blah blah blah. This is a blah blah blah, and well, no, it's actually blah blah blah. And you've got if the guys behind the counter is trying to be nice and explain it correctly, it just you don't look like a. I just be careful about that one. I don't think it's worth. I haven't seen enough successes.
Certainly not the worst thing you could do, though.
No, I'm just saying I've seen much more failures on that. The girl going out being less impressed, I think, than the guy would have wanted. But anyway, I don't know if that's a big one, but it does happen quite a bit. You'd be surprised, like I say, at least a couple of times a week there's guys in there playing show and tell.
So you think it's kind of like guys in cars?
Perhaps. And I don't know. I don't know what the consequences are, because chicks probably feel that way about everything the guy's talking about, right? Like, depending on the chick, she's not gonna be
I say, well, and it also could be want. It could be Charlie Brown's teacher to him too. Sometimes you never know.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, you're not winning anything. You just, successfully boring her to death.
Well, you get to keep her for one more day, so that is a prize. So
there is the other side of that. Every once in a while, it's neat to see a girl come in who knows what she's talking about, and that happens not quite a bit, but it does happen. It's happened
awesome.
Once. And I'm assuming it's somebody's daughter who knows what they're doing, and they'll come in with their like newbie boyfriend, and that's always interesting to see that dynamic.
I have to say, I hope that it doesn't mean that I'm a jerk, but when I see that one in there, I'm usually checking for the tan line on the ring finger. I ain't lying.
Yeah.
On her or him?
Well, him, that's an afterthought. She's going to leave the DTC, drop the clown.
It's really nice of you to be explaining this to your brother here.
Exactly, G.
All right, well, we're not getting too much feedback on that one, so I guess we'll move along to the next one. I think it's time to break into the windbreaker separation.
Yeah. Grab your windbreaker and seek cover.
Grab your jackets. That's right. It's time for the jacket quiz of the day. What color jacket is Jess Dano wearing? First one with the right answer wins my admiration.
It's a white nylon windbreaker with a zipper.
There you go. Not very easy to keep clean, but boy, do I look sharp.
Now,
okay.
I want to ask now, did we double check the answer by any chance?
I did.
Okay.
I got it off the website.
Okay.
So if the website's wrong, the website's wrong.
Well, if I remember, it was wrong last time, but it wasn't wrong. We just had the wrong answer, so that's why I asked. We
got it off the website, so that they're going to be saying the correct thing for themselves.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So obviously you've seen the answer that you'll be looking for. So those of you on YouTube and those of you on gun channels, put your cursor down in the box if you want to participate in the tactical pop quiz of the day. And here we go. I will read the question twice. And words matter in this question. What year did Front Sight begin operations? What year did Front Sight begin operations?
Operating operationally or operationally operating?
As in, let's take a class.
Just because you go to school, Dano, doesn't mean that you have class.
That's true.
1978 is incorrect. 1968 is incorrect. 71 is incorrect. 1998, I believe, is incorrect. 69 is incorrect. That number is incorrect, Knives. 81 is incorrect.
1970.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said, Knives. That number is incorrect. That's like a billion.
That year hasn't
97, I believe, is incorrect. 200, definitely incorrect. 84 and 89 and 72, all incorrect.
1996.
Yep. Chris.
Who got it? Chris?
Chris. Yep, Chris on YouTube this time instead of on the gun channels.
Congratulations, Chris, on being the Tactical Pop Quiz winner for today. Head on over to dailygunshow.com/pop quiz. Fill out the form, put your first, second, and third choice in case one of the others are taken. And congratulations.
Did Chris win yesterday?
He won. That's the second time he won this week anyway. I don't know if it was yesterday.
So then,
Since we have more than one Chris, I'm never sure exactly.
No, this is the one that won earlier this week because I had mentioned his Instagram. Because he does great Instagram.
Still wait because I just sent a bunch of stuff and I need to take another picture. So I didn't do that yesterday. I'll do that today.
So Chris, just double check. G-Web say hold off on your winnings if you would be so kind. He's gonna throw up a new fresh picture with all the new patches that happen to be available. So of course, though, that makes you the last Tactical Pop Quiz hot shot for the week. So again, congratulations, 2 in a week. That's good stuff. And didn't even require a windbreaker, really.
Yep. And by the way, the color is OD green.
Of course.
So anybody who guessed OD green, you have my full admiration.
Oh, and then also, I believe Matt also is holding off on his winning as well for the new pick. Because I believe Matt won this week as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Not a problem, gentlemen. We'll get that taken care of for you. Again, everybody, thank you for participating. We definitely appreciate it. It shows that, this is all for a good point and good fun. And it looks like we're going on to the gun shop of the day with Murphy's Guns and Gunsmithing.
Looks interesting.
Is that Murphy? Murphy or different Murphy?
What do you mean Murphy? What does that mean?
As in Edges Murphy?
From Texas?
Number one, that guy doesn't have a gun shop. And
okay.
This is in Tucson, so no.
Well, I know. Okay.
So we try to feature a gun shop every day during the show, and today we're featuring a place called Murphy's Guns here in Tucson. And I'm pretty sure we've mentioned them before. Bob and I have been there when Bob was down here before, but it's been a while. It's not my favorite shop, but it's definitely an interesting shop. It's in about the middle of town, and you can see from this picture, it used to be like what we call Circle K out here. It's like a 7-Eleven or something, and for whatever reason, that place built the place not on a corner. I guess back in the olden days, they didn't put convenience stores anywhere convenient. So obviously they went out of business, and then this place must have bought it. And it's a weird building to have a gun shop in, I think, but whatever, it works. So that's what it looks like from the outside. When you get in there, it's just one big room, just like a convenience store would be, I suppose. I guess where the freezers and stuff are where the gunsmithing and like the back room is. Anyway, so it's kind of an interesting shop, and I don't have a ton of pictures here, but I think from those a couple of pictures you get an idea. It's tons of guns on the walls, and if this picture will open up, more than just guns on the walls for sale is on the above the sale guns are all these like display guns and swords, and there's mounts.
Yeah, our good friend of the show, Enrique Sonora, is out there, and he says this place has a great collection of older firearms. And I bet you that's what you're leading into.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about here, like on the wall. And collection, literally, like you can't buy this stuff. But kind of a cool shop. They're not necessarily known for their courtesy and warmth, but been there for a long time. And they have good deals sometimes. I bought plenty of guns there.
Dude, what gauge is that? Don't tell me right now. What do you know what gauge that is?
I don't know if it is. It's probably a punt gun. So
yep, that's what I would think.
It looks like it's some kind of black powder or flintlock or something. So it might not be anything. It might just be like a cannon, basically, in the shape of a shotgun. It's hard to say. This looks like it's actually on the part of the shop where it could be for sale, but then again, maybe those aren't, so I'm not sure. It's not a shop where they've ever been at least friendly to me as far as like hanging out and asking questions and stuff. And I don't go there enough, but seems like it's different people there, like crew working there every time I go. So it's not like I've had ever a chance to build up a relationship with anybody there. Even when I used to live right there, and still it wasn't the kind of shop you'd like frequent. There was other
Did you
shops
show up with coffee and donuts, or what are you saying here?
I was younger then, so I never even had that thought. But no, it wouldn't have been. It would have been the kind of shop where they might have thrown them away or like.
Oh no shit! Like okay, that's
they're not assholes, but they're not necessarily always. They're busy, I guess, or I don't know. They just don't like.
Okay.
So 0 chance of a table and chair.
Well, a table in a coffee pot, Dana.
Exactly, or even just a chair.
There's no coffee pot. There's no coffee pot, and they don't really, as far as I can tell, they don't encourage people to just hang out like that to shoot the shit. However, the guy that owns it's fairly old, and I know there's some old guys there. So I bet you if you're buying something and you need to fill out 4473, they're gonna find a chair for you. But
All
yeah,
right.
like a set up area for it or anything. And I don't want to say they're assholes. They're not. They're just not busy. They're not so like they're just busy. They're always doing something. So they're just not there to shoot the shit with you. And
I can respect that though on a level though, man.
there's just not, and I don't want to give, I'm not trying to diss the shop or anything. It's definitely an interesting one. And like I say, it's one of those ones where I don't get to it very often. So if I got money in my pocket, I have to be careful, because if I go past there, it's the kind of shop with enough variety and stuff and enough used guns that you got to be careful. If there's money burning a hole in your pocket, you'll have a new gun if you walk near this place.
Enrique says that what's cool is you can handle rifles on the floor.
Mm-hmm. So I don't have a good picture of it, but where I'm standing to take this picture, this is all the shotguns. They have all their rifles just out, so you can manhandle them and fiddle with them, which is kind of nice. They don't have enough to say like each model of everything that's out there new, but because they have such a wide selection of used, you have a pretty good selection of stuff on the floor. Probably this many shotguns that you see up here, there's at least that many rifles on the floor, maybe more or less.
That's awesome.
Quite a bit of ammo.
Because then you're almost not even wasting I mean, I don't want to say wasting their time, but you know how that is. So it's almost expedient to be able to have that on the floor and be able to, address them as you see fit. That's pretty cool.
I would think, honestly, nobody likes that. You don't like it because number one, it's guns out there where people can grab them or just be dicks with them or break them. It's kind of handy, but as a store owner, I would want my employees to have interaction with any potential customer. So I can see the advantage of having your rifles behind the counter. I think in this shop, they just physically don't have room to do that. So that's where the overflow.
Because of the inventory that they have, the level of inventory.
Exactly. And they don't mind it, I guess, but I'm guessing it's not there because let's put them there intentionally. It's like, well, we got nowhere else to put them. Let's put them there. And I may be wrong. I don't know. But I'm just saying 60% of their guns, of their rifles, their long guns, are behind the counter. So it's not like, they're encouraged. I don't know.
I remember that was kind of the way Cabela's was, or one of the Cabela's that I went to. All the new stuff was behind the counters, but then there was a couple of racks in the middle of their, firearms section or whatever that had rifles on it. And that was the first time that I had ever been into, I mean, granted it was Cabela's, it's not a standard gun shop, but that was the first time I'd been in one where they have them, like you said, they're not behind the counter, that they're on the floor, and you can literally, check them out at your leisure or what have you. Whereas everyone else that I had been to, it's one of those ones where you bust out your driver's license. They usually hold on to that while you handle the firearm and stuff like that. Do they do that to you in Arizona? Is that like a law, or is that just the way they do it around here?
What?
That if you want to see a firearm, you usually hand over your driver's license first.
No, I've never even heard of that.
Oh yeah, no, that is commonplace over here. And I thought that they wanted to do that when I was at Cabela's in Texas, but I don't recall 100%. So
maybe you look really shifty. Have you ever thought about that?
Well, that's entirely possible.
You go in there with your sneakers.
I would definitely say shifty might not be the description, but
your leg.
Sasquatch is slightly clean, a slightly more shaven look. That might be closer.
getting there with your like running shoes and stretching, getting ready to run. Hey, can I take a look at whichever's your lightest weight gun there? That's worth the most.
Right.
Whichever
No,
one's
like for example, I mean, even at Sports Authority, it was like that. It was they needed to have your driver's license before they would even unlock the freaking firearm.
Vroom is saying never even heard of that either. So quick poll
Okay.
for the audience out there. We got a couple of dozen people listening live. How many people have to deal with that kind of additional infringement?
It looks like you need to do that in Massachusetts, which is
You're-
not surprising.
FID. Well, I don't know what a lit is or a FID is.
License to carry or firearms identification.
Yuck.
I'm pretty sure.
No, when you go to rent a gun, yes, they'll want to see your driver's license.
Oh, definitely. When I rented a gun in Austin, that was like that for sure. But that makes total sense. Also, Chris is out there saying not in Colorado either. So it sounds like some of the don't have to do anything like that in Washington. Okay, perfect. So what it's starting to shape up is that the restrictive states are the ones that have stuff like that. And then the non or slightly less restrictive states don't. Oh, nice. Robbie out in New Jersey, repping the Garden State, which we know can be terrible on gun rights. He says it depends on the store there. So some do and some don't.
Dano?
Not in Tennessee, and that doesn't surprise me about Tennessee either.
Dano?
Tennessee being pro-freedom.
That's weird. Do they require your FOID to see anything? He left. Is it top of the hour already? Oh, he might be gone already. All right, so
He's probably getting ready.
should we keep going then?
Yeah, we can, because then there's another one, not in Tennessee, not in Michigan. And then Robbie followed up what he said with the FOID card. But yeah, we can especially since we're just talking about gun shops and we kind of started to get off topic, we can definitely keep going if you want.
All right, so we'll go into the gun movie of the day. So every day we try to mention a movie that you might not have seen in a while, or if you're a youngin', probably haven't seen yet. And I don't know if Z's seen this one, so maybe we're playing
Dude, it has been like a week of movies that I haven't hardly seen any of them. This has been the toughest week for me to have an opinion on.
All right, well,
Except for yesterday where I had 2 thumbs up and everybody's like, yeah, it's okay. So what's the story on Jesse Stone Cold?
So this is
another movie I have not seen.
It's not really a movie. It's more like a made-for-TV movie, and it's a series of them. And they're basically romance novel type of mixed with...
What the fuck, dude?
They are. They're that mixed. They're for chicks, I think. They're almost like Murder, She Wrote mixed with the guy who... Dang it, I can never... Tom Clancy movies. So it's a little bit more interesting than Murder, She Wrote because it's Tom Selleck. But it's basically like Tom Selleck being Murder, She Wrote. Or maybe it's like Tom Selleck. Maybe it's Tom Selleck being like a really mild Longmire. Like before there was Longmire, this is like a watered down Longmire. So it's not as good as Longmire, but it's a made for TV series of made for TV movies. Anyway, they're okay. And it's basically, I think he's like a sheriff or he's a cop in a big city, and he's a drunk or something happens and he becomes a drunk, and then he goes to this little town, and it's like in, I don't know, Becky somewhere, like on the coast. So it's like Murder, She Wrote town.
I got Dark and Gloomy. I got Jesse Stone series. We're very good from Diecaster. Clay says that it's Dark and Gloomy. Robbie says Harlequin gun shows. But you said it's got Tom Selleck in it. So I'm already going to start talking less shit about it and actually give it a shot because I'm a big fan of the stash.
Tom Selleck for chicks, not Tom Selleck like action show. So like Longmire, it's mostly like the drama talking about stuff, and then because it's Tom Selleck, like every once in a while there's like a gunfight, or like he has to actually pull a gun, but it's actually not gunfights. It's not action. I don't want to go around saying that.
Does he have the sense of humor that he did when he was Magnum PI?
It's
or
like
is he more gritty and beat down by life?
I don't remember Magnum PI enough, but it's anyway here because it's worth watching. It's okay. And especially if you got to make a compromise with somebody like a chick or an old person or something who doesn't want to watch like an action movie, and you don't want to watch whatever the hell they want to watch. This is one of those compromise type of things. And you can get them on Amazon. I think that's the other reason I threw it in
Okay.
here. I think it was Amazon. I don't think it was back on Netflix, but wherever it is you can get them, there's like 6 or 8 of them, and you can get like all but 1 or 2 on Amazon or wherever it is that you can get them. So, and I think
So
you
it's
can,
almost like a Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer. It's just that it happens to be on Oxygen or something.
yeah, a little bit more Murder, She Wrote mixed in there, but yeah, very much
Okay.
like one of those, but not as interesting. Those are going to be more like cop interesting. These are more like Murder, She Wrote boring.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he lives on like a house on the water. It's a little weird, but that's kind of the reason it's interesting, because it's not your typical, it's not Quigley, it's not Magnum, but at least it's that guy and there's guns in it. Like in 1911. Obviously.
Well, what was the movie he was in with Gene Simmons with the little robots everywhere?
Oh, come on, Runaway? Talking about
Runaway. Thank you. With the little gyro jet bullets.
Yeah.
See, I'm gonna hijack gun movie of the day. Start
Where's our-
talking about Runaway with Tom Selleck.
Simmons, like the guy from Kiss.
He was the bad guy in that movie. Well, he was one of the bad guys in that movie.
That was the beginning of, that was like a early robot movie. It was like the
Yeah.
cheaper Blade Runner kind of.
Yeah. That was a good movie, dude. I'm sorry. I mean, everybody, and you know, I'm not going to say that it holds up now with the special effects, so to speak, but what was going on in that movie was a great story.
Yeah, it was cutting edge at the time, just not necessarily what played out, or like they didn't execute it very well, but they did what they did, I guess. They were low budget.
Again, man, I was a kid, so gyrojet projectiles blew my mind away, dude. Like, what? You mean that's a rocket gun? Like it shoots little rockets? What? How do they do that? I mean, let alone the little spider things that stab you in the face or whatever. Besides all of that, but that movie, and of course the heroin chick was hot. And anyway, Runaway, good movie. Watch it. 2 thumbs up. Now Jesse Stone, I'm gonna have to give that one a shot.
Yeah, like I say, if you don't like the first one, then dig into the others. They're basically just same kind of thing, but it's okay. We'll see what people think. That's sort of the concept of the segment of the show, is to remind people of movies that you might not have seen, or I guess let you know about movies you might not have seen. And for those
Like
of
I
us,
still gotta watch those who what is it? The Dare one. Those who something dare. That was this week as well.
yeah, I forget what the hell they call it over there.
It was the one with the SAS.
Anyway, it's called Final Option for real. They call it.
Okay. Like those who win dare, or those who dare win, or something like that.
Yeah. All right, and with that, it sounds like some people have seen the Jesse Stone ones, and like I say, give us some feedback if you do end up watching them, or any of the movies that we recommend. That's another thing that, you know, again, this is new media, so it's not like we're just telling you stuff. It's said and it's over. The whole point of being able to have this interactivity, either with the live comments or through the comments on the iTunes or YouTube or wherever, or the email, is that you know, these topics are seeds and they can grow based on everyone's input. So we'll go back and incorporate some of these things back into the schedule so that we can you know, keep going or develop the subjects. But really, it's also the you know, you're more than welcome to participate in that and follow up with some of those movies. If you did hear about a movie that you hadn't seen in a while or have not seen, follow up, and then we can always you know, mention that when we're talking about the future. That's really what the show's all about, is just talking about guns, right?
And speaking about guns, I'm really kind of interested in the gun/bullet of the day. I had never heard of such a thing.
Okay, so we'll go into that next. So every day we try to hit a gun of the day, and since Bob basically left us, you know, just abandoned us, we have to come
He
up with
OD'd on maple syrup.
yeah, we don't know what's going on. Anyway, so I had to come up with something, and all I could come up with was this bullet of the day series this week. So I did this series of videos on bullets, and I was going through my 22 shorts, and this is a box of weird ass 22 shorts I have from Yugoslavia. And did I open it up? Are they steel case? Half the time these
Well,
things,
isn't that one of your favorite, like, non-combatant calibers? Like, you talk about 22 short with love. Almost any time I ever hear you talk about 22 short, it's got like a fondness.
yeah, I don't know how you're going to put non-combatant in there. I'm sure the 22 short has held its own, and since it is the first cartridge ever, it's had the most opportunity to prove its worth. I'm
Okay,
sure.
fair enough.
Well,
So-
in the show notes, it has 22 short Yugoslavian. What's that?
Yeah, because that's Yugoslavian 22 short is what he's saying. That box right there.
Yeah, that company
Oh.
called Valor is a manufacturer, and they happen to be in the country of Yugoslav, except now
Gotcha.
it's code Croatia or something. But yeah, just a weird little box of ammo. I don't remember where I even got it. Probably at a gun show. I try to offset my cost of going to the show, right? If I got to pay admission, try not to pay admission. But if I have to, definitely want to buy stuff in there. If I got to pay for parking, I want to buy something in there to offset that price, right? And then even if I'm just going over there, I want to make my time on my day useful, and I like collecting things, a couple of things. So I'll root around in a box of ammo and see if they got some 22 short in there, because I can almost always get that for like nothing. Nobody wants 22 short. Everybody laughs.
Now, if we had a chance to do an actual old school shooting gallery, G-Webs, what is going to be the 22 short rifle or handgun, or we'll just say firearm, that you would want to use on a shooting gallery? You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking ducks, the pipes, the bullseyes with the protector that swings around it, all of that.
Can you freeze that picture?
What?
Just freeze that picture until after you're done with his question.
The picture that's frozen right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I can confidently say I have more 22 shorts than any of y'all. Anybody listening right now, I have more 22 shorts than you have guns. So I could bring many 22 shorts to that situation. See, I would find it difficult.
Just tell me two of your favorites then, Smoke Dog. Come on. Like, I don't know what 22 shorts you have. I'm saying, what ones would you want to take to the shooting gallery to have fun and put that big shit-eating grin on your face?
That's the best part of 22 shorts, is you can put like 8 of them in the size place that it would take to put one like Super 9mm or something. So you can bring many. I would bring a little tiny 22 short and a revolvers, and I bring more than one of those. And then I got my little rifles. Those are my two favorite 22 shorts to shoot. The little kids rifles, so they're like little tiny rifles, and then the little tiny revolvers. But I might bring my Beretta, little tiny 22 short Beretta, because it's awesome. And imagine a revolver if I really wanted it to be accurate, but 22 short is more for awesomeness than accuracy, I think.
Well, see, and that's what I was looking for. And I want to address DF2 Dot. No, this is not 22 short shaming. This is legitimately because I love shooting galleries. And if my dream is, if I had the money, the space, and the patience, I would build one. And if I had the money, I would just buy one. No offense, but I'm talking the stuff that ran on a chain, just like back in the day at the carnival or what have you.
Yeah.
And the ducks reset, the bullseyes, the birds, the bell that rings it once, but the circle goes around it, so the only opening's there every once in a while. I mean, all of that. So like clockwork stuff. So that's why I was trying to get a feel for what would be your 22 short of, what would be your 22 short weapon of choice for that is what I was trying to figure out.
One of those probably high standards, those big goofy guns, those have capacity, because you're not going to get anything with more capacity than like 6 normally for a 22 short. So that might be.
What about the high standard long slide, dude?
If it's got a 10-round mag, I guess, but basically any auto would be the funnest thing to take to a shooting gallery, of course, and not like a bolt action or anyway. And then there are no real magazines for 22 short that are significant, like like a PMR 30 or something that could shoot 22 short. Would be awesome. But that's what I'm thinking. Any 10-round semi would work good. They should make a 1020 or a Ruger Mark IV in 22 short specifically. That would be awesome.
Wow, that could be kind of cool. I would want something like that.
I don't know if it would just be modifying the mag. It'd probably be modifying the whole chamber and everything. So they probably would never do it.
I do have 2 questions on that box. One is it my vision, or did they reinvent the word children and the spelling thereof?
Well, children aren't an issue. You have to keep it out of the reach of children. No, they're from the Yugoslavia, so they just don't know how to translate, I guess. And
English is not their first language.
Well, it is distributed by an American company out in New York, so.
Yeah, but obviously they don't know how to speak English either, so.
The other thing is, did you see the range? 1 mile.
Oh yeah. What is that new? You haven't seen that on the box of 22s before?
No.
Okay, so I know people that have shot quarter mile, just shooting out into lakes and stuff. But I guess potentially, you shoot that thing at just the right angle, it can carry a mile.
I was gonna say, if you do enough math, I believe you are correct, sir.
I don't know how you would do that. Maybe go out to the salt flats or something up by Dead Horse, and then maybe, I don't think it would ever get quiet enough to put like an audible thing, but maybe like some kind of Doppler thing. If there's some sort of consumer level of Doppler radar, so you could, because how are you gonna know where that thing comes down?
Well, and that's the thing, you have to almost have an area that's totally clear for that amount of space, like you're saying, almost like a salt flat or something. And
where
then
you like a good mile and know there's gonna be parting around out there, and then have to come up with some way. Maybe you could put like a bed sheet out there, and then just lob them until you're hitting the bed sheet, and then I don't know, or just walk a bed sheet.
Well, here's the other thing: if you're shooting from an elevated position, would be another way that you can get that mile. If you're shooting it from an elevated position to less.
So if you stand on the top of a 1 mile tall mountain.
Well, here's the thing, dude. Like, I live on the side of a volcano, right? So technically, if you went up the hill a little bit and then shot out towards the ocean, so to speak, which I'm not suggesting anybody do this. This will get you arrested and your gun rights taken away from you. Between how far it goes out as it goes down, because the elevation changes enough in a few places where you could get that mile no problem.
Yeah, I can't see hitting a bed sheet, let alone a box the size of a football field at a mile.
Well, I think if you were to, let's say you had all day and you had assault flats, then you could go out there and just shoot as far as you can till you hit a bed sheet, and then start aiming higher and moving that bed sheet out. You know what I'm saying? I think you could walk it with a bed sheet or something out pretty far. I don't know. It would definitely take a while, or maybe, I don't know. You wouldn't want somebody to stand out there, because even a slight breeze, I would think, could take a 22.
Well, I was gonna say the barometric pressure, the breeze. What level are you at? Sea level? What elevation that actually has to do with it as well. The heat, like there's a bunch of stuff.
Well, you're talking about stuff that are for accuracy. I'm talking about.
No. I mean that will affect the travel distance of the bullet as well, not necessarily just accuracy, right?
No, I hear you, but I guess wind, I think, would be the only thing. If you're like literally just taking a shot and then seeing where it lands, and then going a little bit further, 6 feet, 12 feet further, and taking another shot, and then 12 feet further, I don't think you're going to be off by 34 feet every time you take a shot. You're going to be within the same, like, probably 55-gallon drum size area. And that's why I'm thinking a bed sheet would be enough to keep that walking down, and because you'd be basically aiming up and up and up all the time.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. That's where the math comes in, because it's somebody that knows the trigonometry of it, or whatever, the geometry of it, I guess would actually be closer. How it's almost like you're elevating a mortar style or something like that, where that it's going to, if the trajectory is correct, you're going to get more gain for height and therefore you're going to get more distance before the gravity has the effect that it has on everything.
Broom is saying he thinks Dano's talking about accuracy at that range, but it means that that's the range where it's still potentially dangerous, and that's for sure. We're not talking like an shot at a mile at all. We're talking like.
I'm not talking about accuracy. It's just you have to be reasonably accurate just to track how far the bullet is going.
Well, but we're just saying randomly. If you shot a 22 short in the air and just the right angle, it could go up to a mile and come down who knows where, and that's why it's dangerous. That you don't just want to assume that it doesn't come down, or it's got no significance when it does. But that would be interesting. I don't know if are we rebuilding a mousetrap here? Has MythBusters already done something with the 22 short specifically? Because it's.
I don't know. I might have to research that a little. And Robbie's out there telling us that the 45-degree angle is giving you max distance. Well, which I suppose that makes sense.
The top of my head, my starting point.
That would be interesting, especially if you have.
Like you guys mentioned.
Well, you know what else would work is a lake. Because a lake, you can right away tell if there's anybody farting around out there, and you can see the splash, which would be an advantage potentially, right?
Well, I have a hard time seeing a splash a mile away, but you could still have people along the shoreline, so to speak, helping you watch.
Well, but with binoculars and I don't know, can you get 22 short tracers?
A 22 is not going to make a big splash.
I understand that. I'm just trying to come up with some way to actually do the test.
Trying to
I don't
lead
think
poison
that
the
out of my
fish.
22 short revolver though, with a barely like an inch barrel, if it's even got an inch barrel, that definitely ain't getting the maximum distance out of a 22 short, right? So if I was able to go to some lake on a calm day where it was legal to do so, and then shoot out as far as I can, just holding it horizontal, and see if we can see the splash, then hold it at like a 45 and see how much further it goes. That might be interesting to see, because I suspect out of that little barrel, it ain't going.
I'm
But
gonna say that you'll see the splash if you fire it horizontally. I think you could do that. I
as
don't
I,
think
it's not going to go but dozens of yards. I think. I don't know. I've never actually shot my little tiny gun to see how far it can actually go. That'd be interesting sometime.
So the bullet of the day is the 22 short from Yugoslavia.
Yeah, so it's not like a special 22 short. It's just a 22 short that's standard, but made in Yugoslavia.
Which I have to admit, we don't talk about 22 short hardly ever around here. I mean, other than when we talk about it fondly, but
Yeah.
No way to look at. How could you not talk about 22 short fondly? That's like going up to a baby and being like, I have bad things to say about this baby.
okay. Again, I always fall back on I think the only time I ever got to fire a 22 short was when I was pretty much a kid, and it was at like either the state carnival or something, state fair. There were because then that was like in the 70s, so I was really young, and because then after that, the next was the BBs, and then after that, then it was like light. So it was only the one time ever that I ever got to shoot a 22 short, and obviously, obviously it made an impression.
What kind of gun did you say?
Man, I thought it was like a rifle. Granted, dude, this is quite some time ago. It's
Well,
almost
rifles usually can eat them. If it's a 22 long rifle, it can handle shorts, and depending on if it's bolt action, then don't even have to worry
it
about
just seemed like it was really, really small, but it seemed like it was a lever action rifle, if I'm remembering it
There's a
correctly.
lot of levers because they're pulling from the back, they're pulling from the rim. They don't care how long it is. I mean, they care if it's magnum or not because of the taper and the case, case sizes. But since short and long have the same case diameters, they don't care. So they pull it up, and a lot of times they'll work just fine. So, and that's where you use most of your shorts is in revolvers. And
Oh, nice. And then I never got a chance to shoot one of those, but the pump action one, that would be another one too.
yeah, and that's what they would have at the what do you call them, galleries most of the time, because levers, I guess, would hurt people's hands or something. But
Well, yeah, there's more of a chance to pinch stuff, I guess. That's true.
and if you haven't ever played with a little pump, an old like Remington pump 22 short, that's super. You know what the fun part about it is that you could load twice as many as long rifle. So even with long rifle, you can put a bunch in there, even if it's especially if it's got a long barrel, so that magazine has more room to have rounds in it. But now you almost multiply it by 2, or at least 50% more, and it feels like you're shooting for days, especially when you're a little kid shooting in cans or something.
Yeah. Yep.
And they cost less. Well, they used to cost less. So yeah, not quite BB guns, but all the fun of a real gun with none of the cost or issues.
I want to put it out to gun channels and YouTube right now. And you don't have to answer now, but I want to know, are there actual firearms shooting galleries anywhere in your area?
Like
No.
with actual guns.
I'm talking with actual firearms, not necessarily whether it's the pistol and or pump action rifle like we're talking, or bolt action, whatever. I would just like to know, like, the state of the nation. Like, are there actual shooting galleries anymore, or is it all light laser / like airsoft stuff? So I would be really, really interested to know if anybody out there, and if you would, you can send that to dailygunshow@gmail.com and just subtitle it like shooting galleries or something like that, because I'm just, it's one of those things that I don't think that there are, and it's probably due to insurance, to be honest with you, liability insurance and whatnot. But It's one of those things that I would really like to see it come back for sure.
Yeah, I haven't been to an actual shooting gallery like you're talking about. I think the last thing I can remember, even close, was probably like a Disneyland or something. Not Disneyland, like a Six Flags type of size thing. And it was, they probably had them when you were a kid still, I think. The BB guns that had like, they were full auto BB guns.
And you just shot out the middle of the. If you shot out enough of the middle of the target, that was your win, right?
Well, the one I can remember had all different kinds of things. So you could shoot at stuff that fell over and knock down, or you could shoot the middle out of paper. It was kind of like depending on what prize you wanted.
But it was on a post, yeah, like literally.
It was attached to the ground because the air and the BBs came up through it. So
Yep.
I figured it was just more of an efficiency thing. Like instead of having to load, and then of course safety because you couldn't really point the thing outside of the gallery.
No,
you-
it was barely that 90 degrees or 45 or whatever it was.
Yeah, you wouldn't even be able to shoot the roof of the place unless you broke something. Like it was only going to shoot the range of motion inside of the place. But what I loved about it was this full auto BB guns. It would just be like a stream of BBs coming out, and I would assume they all knocked into the thing, got funneled into a hopper, and then went right back into the BB guns.
And I do know that they've changed them to lasers now for the big carnivals or what have you to have that. And those things are like $100,000, and so that's not. It's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking. It would. I would just like to hear some little anecdotal story about. Oh well, the state fair in the town of, Butte, Montana, or something like that. You know what I mean? Just to know that there's one out there.
Or something like maybe a somebody who's just trying to do it the old timey way, and that's their catch. So they're keeping the old.
Oh, if we find that person, I'm going to do my best to help support that person, whether I'm talking about it on social media, on the Daily Gun Show, on gun channels, on my Facebook, whatever. I will do whatever I can to help that entity.
So I have seen them a couple of times. There's one at the Jam Davis Museum, or at least most of one, in their one area for that, and then at the NRA Museum in Virginia. At least I think it is one of the parts of the museum that changes. But the last time I was there with Marco, I think they had a real one, like an actual shooting gallery. So you'd walk up. It wasn't for shooting though. You'd walk up to it, and then that would like trigger it to start going through a bunch of robotic stuff, like a Chuck E.
Yeah.
But it was a real one. Like,
dude, that's all chain driven and stuff. Like have you ever like seen the guts on some of that stuff?
Yeah, that's what it was all about.
It's amazing, dude. It's like clockwork. It's just awesome.
Right, and that's what it was all showing you, is like that this is like all mechanical. Like this was a giant, like you're saying, like one of those clocks in Germany or wherever it was, where the little people would come out on the top of the hour, and it was like a thing.
That's a cuckoo clock, but I'm with you. I'm definitely with
the
you.
ones that were like in town, and like a whole bunch of like animatronics would come.
Oh, at the town square, and they would come out. Yep, I know what you're talking about.
Tourist attractions. They were like a reason you'd travel around Europe to look at those. So it was almost like that. Yeah, it was really intricate. But yeah, I imagine lasers are going to kill all that stuff, which is kind of cool, but also nowhere near as cool.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I was thinking about because it's going to need to be in an open space, and the smell and the sound and all those things that are involved in it. So I was just wondering if there is one out there still yet, fighting against progress.
That would be actually a good thing to put a call out there for. So let's remember to ask people about that sometime in the future, because we're only talking to however many dozens of people right now, and then a couple of hundred people in the future. Hopefully the audience will grow, and we know it'll change. So putting that out a couple of times will probably get us better results if there are. But I could definitely see that, like someplace as a tourist attraction set up like the old time. What do they call those? They didn't call them midways. They call them like there was a name for that, like gallery,
like a boardwalk or something, but.
Boardwalk, maybe, yeah. So there could be somebody that has like the old timey boardwalk down to the, old stuff. All right, so that was the gun of the day, although it was kind of a bullet of the day. And then we will go into, I think that's it, huh? 255.
What do we got? We got healthy tip. We got weekly wrap up.
So every day we like to remind everybody that the most important part of the gun is the part that pulls the trigger. And with that in mind, we do a healthy tip. Today it's eat nutritious calories. So whatever the number is your goal, I guess. You know, if you're older or younger, or man or girl, or fat or skinny or whatever it is, you've got some kind of you may have some kind of goal in mind for the number of calories you want to eat every day. And I eat nutritious ones. It's obviously kind of a no-brainer, but I've experienced that when you eat nutritious ones, you can eat way more stuff. So if you like eating,
Oh yeah.
more to eat when you're eating apples as opposed to like apple, or I guess that's a bad example.
Well, look at it like this, G. If
Oranges
you have a
as opposed to-
2,500 calorie a day diet, you are going to be hard pressed to eat enough vegetables. It's let alone like if you're a vegan or something like that, because then it's probably not going to have butter on it or any of that other kind of stuff. So to gain or to take in that level of calorie intake is going to be work. Like your jaw might be sore at the end of the day. You're going to have to eat so many vegetables to try and get like 2,500 to 3,200. Oh my goodness.
Is that how many people are supposed to eat? Anyway, so yeah, you couldn't even do that. It would be like theoretical. But the thing is, if you're drinking like one of them, I really like these Naked and Odwalla and some of those
They're
other.
delicious, but don't they have a lot of sugar and calories in them?
Yeah, great. 200 calories, right? Or 120, depending on, I guess, what flavor or what kind you get.
Big Blue Machine is my favorite.
But I'm just saying that's 200 calories. That's basically juice and some water. So, or I mean, you know, fruits and vegetables and then water. So that's like you're saying. I mean, yeah, you could drink 10 of those things if you could in a day. But all I'm saying is that's going to fill you. Like you eat drinks and you're not thirsty right away or you're not hungry right away. You know, when I'm drinking sodas, you can drink soda after soda after soda and you ain't satisfied at all. You drink 200 calories worth of one of them fancy juices and it's almost like a meal. I mean, your body gets fulfilled and you're satisfied. So anyway, that's the point of eating nutritious calories, is that empty calories, you got to eat more of them. They just get burned. The nutritious ones, I don't know, they have the
well, and you're also getting more of the positive building blocks out of that, whether it's vitamins and minerals or whatever. Usually, you know, it's the building blocks that you're putting in. So if you're putting the good stuff in, you're building a better machine. So I will agree 1,000% with you on that, dude. That's a big one, as a matter of fact. It's huge.
That's what she said. And that'll take us out of the healthy tip and into the gun channels today. Well, it's Friday, so that means we got Edge. We know that. Hebby already did his show early.
Really? Oh, dang. Was it good?
It was all right. It was way before
Okay. Well, at least he's able to do it, man. I definitely appreciate him doing that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because he's going over to that friend he's got that's laid up and, you know, hanging out with his friend more, and he just wanted to make sure he did the show, or if he just likes the new schedule or time slot for something else he's doing. I'm not really sure. But
he did mention that it was mostly due to time constraints that he had, so I'm just glad that he's still trying to stick with it.
But they were talking the difference between being a survivalist and a prepper.
Oh, I definitely think there is a difference. That I might have to go listen to that. But let's see. So Friday, that's Edge. And then we got what? We got Voices of the West tomorrow. We got Matt.
Hold on. Voices of the West is still in the schedule. Yeah, Emil isn't doing that anymore, I don't think.
Oh. Sorry.
He's an old guy, so at some point it's not going to keep doing it. We're going to get old one day and not be doing this. So it's just the way it works, right? Unless we figure out some way to fold time, and then we're going to do this forever. You guys will never end up.
Well, we learned how to fold time. I want more stories out of Emil, dude. I didn't ever hear enough stories from that dude. Are you kidding? Like, that's the grandpa whose knee you want to sit on and say, tell me another story. But whatever.
I'm a little big
as
for
a
that.
kid.
I should with them and maybe have a salad and let them tell me about some stories. How about that?
I would do that.
So, nice. So, reading some of the comments out there and getting distracted. So we've got the end of the show, but I was going to say we have a project going on over at the Gun Channels. Talked about this a little bit on Yankee Show last night, but it's time to start talking about it on the other shows as well. So one of the reasons I built Gun Channels is to bring people of different creative talents together, people with different ambitions and different resources, and give them a platform where they could collaborate and they could share resources and an audience and creative ideas. So to that end, to kind of get that ball rolling, or to continue that ball rolling, it's definitely started already. I want to start doing a Gun Channels comic. So whether it be print or animation, or maybe both, I'd like to start coming up with a time so that we start it, and maybe that's on a Monday with in relation to match chat somehow, either before or after, and then get whoever we can together, figure out what kind of resources we have as far as artists, and then come up with some images for everybody that we want to use as the characters, and then have another meeting where we come up with story ideas and task out pieces to everybody. So it's not a burden to anybody, but it's an opportunity for anybody who wants to participate to collaborate, and then play it by ear and see how many steps it takes after that to turn it into a reality. And I'm thinking if we do it as images, I think of a lot of ways that could be pretty easy, but there's got to be people out there that either did this kind of animation or illustration either for school or for work or just out of your own interests. You can bring knowledge to the table. That's the whole point of this, is to bring stuff to the table that we're not maybe be aware of, the steps in the process we don't even know are necessary. Anyhow, that's something that we're going to get going, and I've already had a couple of people volunteer their talents in various things, and hopefully that's something that's interesting for people. If it's not, though, I have ulterior motives for everything. It's an attempt to get this ball rolling as far as bringing in artist type of people together, because my next step after that, it can continue to be a Gun Channels comic if it turns out that people like that, but really it's going to be an effort to get everybody together in a non-important way, so that if we can accomplish that and get a product out, something that's interesting and effective, then I think we should take aim at the Second Amendment, because I don't think there are very many, if any, Second Amendment comics out there as a alternative way to reach those middle people that we're always theorizing about. And if that's something that people are down with, then that would be, I could see a couple of steps to get us to that. And I don't know, maybe NRA show or something could be a thing, to shoot for. I don't know. I don't know if there's any time restraints or if there needs to be, but I also don't want it to turn into a project that never ends. I'd like to come up with ideally like 3 weeks and we have it made or something and see what we can do. So I'm definitely looking for feedback on that. And again, any volunteers or people that are interested in collaborating, I guess let us know at dailygunshow@gmail.com, or let me know directly at gunwebsites@gmail.com. Oh, crap.
In here, I thought the ulterior motive was global domination. You fooled me again, G-Webs. You fooled me again.
Once we get guns in the hands of all free Americans, right? All these citizens in the United States, then we peacefully take over Canada. But they're just going to go, all right, we give up already. You guys do it better. They're just going to be part of us. That'll be like 4 states. Then look at Mexico and kind of shrug over and, look what Canada did. And they'll go, all right. And then we'll just have Mexico. So not necessarily world domination as much as world peace that just naturally evolves into us.
Pax Americana as opposed to Pax Romana.
I don't know what that is. What's Pax Romana?
That's peace in Rome, and that was part of their thing. How they spread the Roman Empire was peace in the Roman Empire was by taking over stuff. So that's why I just extrapolated it to Pax Americana.
Oh, I see. No, I'm not saying that as force, though. I'm just saying, like, by being so benevolent that others are going to be like, oh, we acknowledge that your way of doing things is much better. Let us be
waving the equivalent of Lucille over your head going, well, we could do this the easy way. Or
No, I'm just saying, if you do things in a superior way, others will acknowledge it and want to participate in that better way of doing things. So that's how we win. We get guns into the hands of everybody. Everybody figures out, oh, that is the way to do it. Not through intimidation, but through example. Anyhow, so I don't know if we somehow turn the end of the show into world domination, but that'll happen.
Well, I just thought that was the ulterior motive, so that's all. Like I said, I was surprised when you had a different plan going.
Steps. Got to take steps.
Yep.
All right. So with that, I think we are done with episode 255. We've got no Smeggy. He abandoned us. Bob totally forgot about
No
us.
show.
Dano is out trying to make the dollars. So I think that means one of us has to be the Bob.
You know what we do have? We got a quote from Thomas Jefferson today, folks. And this has been said before on these chats and probably on this show before, but it makes it carry no less weight. The gravity of this statement is probably more weight than a lot of Americans or people of the earth can literally bear. And it is, I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. Boom.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.